There's been a lot of discussion about the Eagles' offense recently, and unfortunately not much of it has been good. The team started out hot against the New England Patriots before absolutely collapsing under their own weight, and everyone's trying to figure out why. Was it on Carson Wentz? Was it the offensive line? Was it running backs? Perhaps a combination of everything, including wide receivers? Or is there maybe, just maybe, a more fundamental issue at hand here? And that's what we're going to be trying to find out in today's video. So without further ado, my name is Liam Jenkins, and this is another episode of Eagles Film Room. Before we get started though guys, a quick announcement that we officially now have a Discord server for you all to join. It's free, takes 5 seconds, and it's really there to bring this community together. We've got nearly 15,000 subscribers, and this gives you a place to meet new friends, interact with fellow fans, and also potentially join in on some exciting new projects. So we're going to have debate shows, we're going to have call-ins for podcasts. It's a chance for us to get a little bit closer to you and to bring the community together. So if you want to be a part of it, the link's in the description. We'll see you in there. And as always, if you could leave a like and hit that subscribe button, it would be amazing. 500 likes, we'll give away a t-shirt. We'll pick a random commenter from down below. It's only right that we start with the man at the center of it all, Carson Wentz, and I wanted to start actually with something he did quite well, because although this was one of his scrappier games, it was one of his lowest completion percentages since 2016, it wasn't all that bad. And the reason I've highlighted this play is because it sets the tone. The Patriots put a real focus on taking out running backs and basically anything coming out of the backfield. In this instance, it's Dallas Goedert. They've got to cover one. That second safety is actually going to come down, and if he does that, it opens up a wide window for Carson Wentz theoretically. Not as deep as he'd like, and he puts that ball on the money to Zach Ertz. That's a tough throw, especially considering the wind conditions. We've got to give him the benefit of the doubt for a lot of these. That was a big time throw and a big time moment. Now, second quarter, a minute and a half to go. You're driving down the field towards the 50-yard line. Here's another play to Zach Ertz. Again, watch the attention the backfield gets. We're going to see someone in man coverage or curl and flat responsibilities pretty much the entire game to take out these wheel routes and these sneaky things the Eagles do out of the backfield. That opens a nice window underneath. Wentz takes advantage, and that's how they should have played all game. But the truth is they didn't. But it's bizarre because Wentz did show signs of adaptation. Like this touchdown here to Dallas Goedert, they're going to use Agholor to essentially push a defensive back out of the way, opening up a nice hole for Goedert to run through. This is a look that we actually saw in week 9, and a big shout to Mark Schofield and the QB Sco Show for originally pointing this out. Here it is against the Bears. The only difference is that Goedert's the man creating space. Ertz here should have had a direct touchdown. Wentz holds onto the ball and takes a really unnecessary sack. It shouldn't have happened. He learned from that and he made the right call when it mattered, putting the Eagles' only touchdown of the day on the board. But now let's get on to some of the bad, and there was a lot of it. Wentz left a lot of guys open, including Zach Ertz here. The tight end is lined up over Stephon Gilmore, which is no easy matchup, and the Pats are in a variation of cover 2. But this is a matchup that should favour Ertz given his physicality. He creates separation, and Wentz just misses the throw and puts it into the ground. And if you look at it from the box view here, it's just a misfire, and there were simply too many of them on the day. Whether he was trying to do too much with the ball or not, I don't know, but here's another miss. I think this is the Eagles trying to take advantage of the fact that the Patriots are trying so hard to take away the versatility of Miles Sanders, and this is going to leave Zach Ertz in a one-on-one matchup with a nice hole to throw it into, and Wentz just fires it over his head. On the other side of the field, you've got arguably 3 open targets. The next example comes with a little under 2 minutes left on the clock. Now the Eagles inside the fourth quarter trying to drive down the field. Little bit of pre-snap motion highlights man coverage. Wentz tries to deliver an easy throw to Nelson Agholor and somehow can't do it. And when you look back at it from the box view, this is so reminiscent of 2018. I can't tell if the ball was tipped, but there's no lower body movement here. It's all generated from the upper body. The pass is incomplete. Now, this is a play I put on Twitter earlier today. It also comes in that fourth quarter, this time a little bit earlier on. And what we're going to see is a look that looks to be cover 1 from the Patriots. So Wentz thinks he's got one look. The Patriots disguise it so well and turn into a cover 2. But at this stage, the ball's not out of his hands. You've got Jordan Matthews with a window in the turkey hole down the sideline. You've got to check down to your left, or you've got Dallas Goedert, who is now caught up by 3 defenders over the middle. Wentz throws over the middle. That ball is dangerously close to being intercepted. Now, is that the right or wrong decision? I don't know. I think the ball could have come out earlier. either way. But then there are examples like this. This is back in the third quarter. Eagles stacked up towards their own 5-yard line. They need a quick release, either a run or a quick pass, just to try and get some momentum. The Patriots know this, and the Eagles run long developing routes. I don't know why. Wentz has all day to throw back there, can't quite get the pass off to his running back, but then you look at it from the box view, and what you see is a wide open running lane open its way up. The offensive line actually does a good job of containing the stun, and there, Wentz could have taken off for an easy escape route. He doesn't, tries to force it to Sanders, and then it's incomplete. It wasn't the only time he missed Jordan Matthews, and I think the one conclusion we can draw here is that Carson Wentz was just trying to do a little bit too much. You can put it on receivers, offensive line, running backs, but if we're just talking Carson Wentz, he left a lot of meat on the bone, and there are a couple more plays we're going to get to, but this one, similar sort of thing, cover 2, can't put the ball in the hole where it needs to be, throws it a little bit late, but this is probably the worst example. Now right here, the Pats are running what looks to be a Tampa 2, and that linebacker next to Jordan Matthews is currently looking at Wentz. He can thread that ball in there. That's an easy completion over the middle. It's a zone beater. All you've got to check down to Agholor. Wentz hesitates, then has to roll out, doesn't take Agholor again, and ends up taking a huge tackle for pretty much no gain. It's unbelievable, and if you look at it from this view, it's like he's trying to do much, he's trying to overthink it. That was a wide open look, that was a wide open look, and then he comes down to go absolutely nowhere. It's a real shame. Now, I'm not sat here saying Carson Wentz had an awful game or that he is suddenly a bad quarterback, but you can absolutely acknowledge that he didn't have his best game as an NFL quarterback, and we should be expecting more, especially when there is so much meat left on the bone. But he wasn't the only man at fault, so now we've done ripping into Carson Wentz. Let's look at some of the other areas on this team. I want to go back to what is essentially just great game playing by one of the greatest minds in the NFL. On defense, the Patriots were nearly unstoppable purely because they tried to take away the one outlet the Eagles have relied on all year. Like, look at the attention Miles Sanders is given there. The Eagles couldn't find a wheel route all day. The Patriots disguised their coverages so well, and then he's forced to miss what is an easy check down. In reality, it's a bad look, but the Patriots did such a good job of keeping attention off of Miles Sanders. Here's another example of that against Boston Scott. The linebacker drops down, shoves him, and makes sure Carson Wentz has nowhere to throw that ball but into a sticky situation. Now, luckily, Zach Ertz was on hand to complete that one, but he didn't always get that lucky. There's an example here. This was a coughed up fumble in a key situation, and watch the attention that Miles Sanders gets. Again, linebacker comes out, shadows him all the way. Wentz can't go to where he'd like to put that ball, ultimately holds onto it too long, and the Patriots get home. Finally, this is something I know Ben Solak has analysed on Twitter. It's something the Eagles have tried to do before. The Patriots saw this on tape. They covered wheel routes all day long. Miles Sanders, with absolutely no running room, shadowed all the way to the end zone there by the Patriots linebacker. There's nothing more the Eagles could have done. They tried to get Sanders involved in the passing game. The Patriots just had absolutely none of it, and this is an example where I do think they missed Jordan Howard. Right here, you've got two alleys to run the ball through. Sanders doesn't take either, hesitates a bit too long, and you've got to feel like if that was Jordan Howard, you could have maybe established a run. He would have dived headfirst for better or worse, and that would have been a more significant game. On to play calling, and I honestly think Peterson called quite a good game for the most part. This look here, they put Dallas Goedert at fullback, and it's a look they stole directly from the Baltimore Ravens, who, as we know, gave the Pats defense a run for their money in the week before. So they kick Goedert inside to be the lead blocker. It makes a counter. Sanders bounces outside really well, and that's a nice gain for the Eagles offense. The bad news is they tried to rely on this quite heavily. Goedert again here as a blocker, Boston Scott for a nice little gain, and on the third time that I counted they tried to do this, what we end up seeing is Dallas Goedert kicked inside again as a fullback. The Patriots see it coming a mile away this time. You can see the linebacker points out they know exactly what to do and how to get around it. They make a man responsible for Goedert and another man responsible for the running back. That's a nice stop for the Patriots. You see it a lot better from this view. Kyle Van Noy is a smart man. He's gonna read that every single time if you show him a pattern, and you can just see how easy the Patriots adjusted to really wiping out what did work in the early stages. Talking of those early stages, there's a look here where Jason Kelce is lined up as a receiver. I'm not kidding. Jason Kelce at wide receiver, and he's calling for the ball, and Carson Wentz gets this one off. There's a bit of a scramble there from Miles Sanders, but that's how creative Peterson got. His center was lined up as an eligible receiver and was open. Could you imagine if that pass had come off? Talking of well-designed screens, I think this tight end screen was absolutely brilliant here by Doug Peterson. Dallas Goedert works so well in traffic, and without those speedy wide receivers you can rely on. I mean, they previously were giving screens to Alshon Jeffrey, which says a lot. I think this was a good addition to the offense. What we don't see, though, are screens to running backs. They don't have to run running backs on wheel routes every single time. I can't remember the last time the Eagles actually ran a screen pass for a running back. It's bizarre that you've got a running back in Miles Sanders and Boston Scott who are so lethal, but you can't get them into open space. You shouldn't have to be leaning on your tight ends in that situation. But credit to Peterson, he did all he could to get his main playmaker open in Zach Ertz, who of course dominated catches this game. Jordan Matthews in his first game back used as an extra blocker to take out 2 defenders and open a window for Ertz to work into. It's a clever, it's subtle, but it's more than importantly effective play design from Doug Peterson. Oddly, one thing we didn't see more of though was RPOs, and you'd think that against this Patriots defense, given how the Eagles beat them in Super Bowl 52, it would have been a strong addition. We see one here, Wentz hands it off, keeps the ball, and then does a great job of delivering to JJ Arcega-Whiteside, maneuvering his way out of some traffic to find a clear path. It's exactly what you want to see, but we barely saw any of it. There was 1 or 2 at most, and the rest of it was play actions and just Wentz working from under center. In fairness to Peterson here, he's working with a group that he knows isn't producing, so he incorporated a lot of pre-snap motion, a lot of pony backfields where there are 2 running backs splitting the backfield to begin with, and he used a lot of mesh concepts underneath to open up receivers like we see here. This really wasn't on Peterson as much as people say it is, and maybe even, I don't want to stretch too far, but I think Mike Groh should be getting less of a heckling than he is right now. Alright, let's talk wide receivers and the Nelson Agholor drop, which I really don't understand. It doesn't even need words. You couldn't have asked for a better thrown ball if you're Nelson Agholor, and I get that, you know what, maybe you hurt your leg on this play, but you wouldn't have if you could actually track the ball and get yourself in a position, as opposed to just flailing around and hoping that the ball magically falls in your chest. There is no lower body adjustment, it's all with the chest. He's not doing anything to get inside the path of that ball, and it ultimately hurt the team. One nice addition was the JJ Arcega-Whiteside 29-yard catch. That was a career high for the receiver, who's played in just 25% of snaps this season so far. It was a needed boost. They had to get him involved in this game. I don't know why they're cross-training him. It makes no sense to me, especially if that's the reason for Agholor's lack of production, according to Mike Groh. Why would you put your rookie receiver in that same boat? But Arcega-Whiteside uses his big body here to box out that defender, shield the ball, and make sure he comes down with it. It's nothing too fancy. It's nothing too saucy. It's a nice, simple catch. Wentz does well to evade pressure. Look at the adjustment Arcega-Whiteside makes, moving in part of the ball, not away from it, unlike Nelson Agholor, which is exactly what we see for number 13 on this next play. 30 minutes to go in the 4th quarter. The Eagles desperately looking for any signs of life from at this point a flailing offense. They're going to run up against another cover 2. Agholor on a spot route over the middle, should be holding on to that. Yes, it was a little bit tipped, but it was tipped into his direction. It wasn't tipped away from the receiver. If anything, it made the catch a little bit easier. This absolutely had to be made, and for whatever reason it wasn't. It's abysmal. This play just highlights how impressive the Patriots were at taking away wide receivers behind the line of scrimmage and those running backs again. You can see it's man coverage here. Sanders accounted for, as is Nelson Agholor. The ball has to go over the middle, but Dallas Goedert should really have that. It's a makeable catch. It's on his fingertips. He should be coming down with that, and this is where the receivers are letting Wentz down. But finally, let's talk about the offensive line, because this is where I think a lot of responsibility has to come. The Eagles were without Lane Johnson. Jason Kelce had one of the worst games in recent memory, and there was some instability on the left side of the line. Here, Halapoulivaati-Vaitai allows a huge pressure, and that forces Wentz into a low throw. It's a shame, but this one's all on the offensive line. When you look at it from the box view, keep an eye on number 72 here. What we're just going to see, he steps out on his kickback well, but doesn't expect the inside rusher from the stunt. Wentz has to get the ball out quick, and it's a little bit low. Missing Lane Johnson is a massively underrated component of this loss. Vaitai is a huge drop back, in production from what we see from what is essentially one of the best right tackles, if not the best in the league. Vaitai can't get hands on his man here, is left stuck in the mud, allows a sack on Carson Wentz. The Patriots had 5 sacks from 5 different players. That doesn't happen by coincidence, it's by design, and they really went to town on trying to overload Vaitai, keep him second guessing by sending a rusher to his inside and outside. Not much he can do there, but it's not good enough. Then there was a rogue snap from Jason Kelce, which was just a little bit too low for Wentz to grip onto, or maybe that was miscommunication, I don't know. Wentz recovers it, takes a sack, but it's not a good look whatsoever. This play was just infuriating though. The Eagles are going to basically run a dagger concept with the idea trying to work some space against a cover 1. You've got 2 in-breaking routes, much like you'd see on a double China 7 look. You've even got the 7 route as well. Nelson Agholor ends up wide open here, and I mean wide open, and the ball can't get his way because the Eagles offensive line just get bullied. Halapulavati Vaitai gets bullied. It's an easy sack for the Patriots defensive line. There's just total breakdown in assignment because the Patriots show heavy on one side. They're then going to run a stunt. This catches off the interior guards, but meanwhile Jason Peters gets beaten one side. I think everyone's responsible at that point. There's nothing more that needs to be said other than it was a train wreck of a pass blocking rep by just about everybody. Here we can see a rob route underneath. There's a stunt by the New England Patriots, and Carson Wentz doesn't get the ball out. He had a man there. It was open and for the taking, but because of the pass protection being shoddy once again, because the New England Patriots decided to give another stunt and really attack Miles Sanders in pass protection, which was an area of weakness for him coming into the season, it was only going to end one way. So what have you got at the end of this video? Well, the answer's pretty simple. Just about everyone was inefficient. I don't think, though, surprisingly, it was on the coaching staff as much as we make out. This was sheerly execution or lack thereof by just about everybody on the field. I think the play calls, bar a couple, were largely sound. They did enough to keep the Patriots guessing, but the Patriots knew the Eagles were short-handed. They took away their biggest strength. They force you over the middle, which is where you've got studs like Carl Van Noy and a strong secondary group, and I think they just won the day. But the Eagles were sloppy, they were inconsistent, and it can't continue. Carson Wentz can't keep playing hero ball. The offensive line has to be better. The wide receivers have to stop dropping everything, and the running backs have to work on their own weaknesses to avoid being completely ruined and wiped out from this game. I hope that sums up just about everything, guys. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like and hit that subscribe button. And as always, get your daily dose of Philly sports content from myself and all of our writers at phillysportsnetwork.com. From myself, Liam Jenkins, you can follow me on Twitter at LiamJenkinsPSN, or I'll see you on Discord soon.